welcome back. And Spawn, that has to. I mean, I don't know if Crusher Gravitas is something that you go home and cheer about, but that has to make AV feel good as they are at the bottom of the playoff run and looking to achieve something next week.
Yeah, and I was actually just checking out who Avant Gaming play in the final week to see if they're actually going to succeed in their run to the playoffs, Nick. And Direwolves, who they're directly racing against, they have Gravitas, which, should be a win. Then they have Order, tough, Chiefs, which is tough. So I was like, okay, maybe there's hope. And then I checked out the fact that Avant actually play Order, Legacy, Chiefs, who are the top three teams in the league. Actually, they play Pentanet, not Chiefs, Order, Legacy, Pentanet. So they're going to have to still do some work. So it's probably what you mentioned. They're probably not going home cheering about the fact that they just smacked the Gravitas lineup. But I tell you what they did do, and Rusty was kind of mentioning it, they bought some wins in the draft. And when it gets to this late in the season, allowing you to have some maneuverability in the drafts by making teams ban stuff is a good thing. Everyone will ban Nunu against Avant Gaming now because he just played it into a counter matchup, had absolute dominance over the earlier stages of the game, and no one wants to play against Nunu. Like, Nunu is the most annoying champion in Summoner's Rift if you can pilot it to a sixth of its degree. And Lisa has turned into a little bit of a Nunu one-trick.
Well, there you go. Congratulations to AV. Look, I don't want to say that I had anything to do with it, but I definitely had something to do with this. All right, let's move on to something that I did have something to do with. It's the Nick Bag. Alrighty, it too strong? We too strong. Maybe it's just we too strong. Says top 5 sneakers people should own. I don't know anything about shoes. Does anyone know anything about shoes?
Top 5 sneakers. I mean, for me, this is like, you could still look at types, and I'm sure Spawn agrees with this as well. There's many types, and he's a sneakerhead, so he'll have the good answers after me. One is Ultra Boosts of some kind. Because they're just the brand right now. They're just fantastic shoes. I forget the other ones you had that were really good as well.
The ones I had?
Yeah.
Okay.
Spawn's just like, Puma, Puma, and Puma, thank you, that's enough.
NMDs, yeah. So Skimmy's hit the nail on the head. I don't know what I can and cannot say in this segment.
Tell me your favorite Puma shoe.
Okay, cool. So we launched our collaboration with Puma through the RS 9.8s and the black and white and red colorway. I also have a pair of RS X's, which are the NASA versions, which I super like. But if you want to go like to traditional sneakerhead, like culture, like any pair of Jordans is just like automatically in there. Like Jordans are actually like king sneakerhead, and if you look at where like sneakers culture started, a lot of it is around like the fact that like people wanted to be like Mike, right? So they started wearing his basketball shoes with like normal everyday get-ups, and that was super cool. So I think like any Jordans are good. As Rusty mentioned, like Ultra Boosts are like just fantastic shoes. NMDs look good, but are not as comfortable as Ultra Boosts. Like don't be surprised. Don't be kind of like fooled by the spongy bottom. They're not that great. I like a couple of the Pumas. As I said, I really like the RSXs. I've got a pair of Riders, which are actually like, I don't know if you guys have seen my Riders, but they're like pink and green neon fluoro. I'm super into that.
I don't know if you realize, but the camera stops at your belly button, so no, we haven't.
I was like looking around, and I think I wore them on broadcast a couple of times. So yeah, I'm all into that. I also, like, one of my favorite pairs of basketball shoes that I had that I used to wear a lot as well was I had a pair of Answer 3s, I think, which are obviously Reeboks. So there are some good sneakers out there for people.
That's a comprehensive answer. Skimmy.
I'm not a big sneakerhead, but I do like shoes to a degree. Over the years, it's gone more from like looking really, really cool to what feels comfortable, and I've just sort of adopted like the gym wear style, right? Forget the tights because I wouldn't look good in those, but I can wear, these real comfy, spongy, Nike, Adidas, whatever they may be, kind of shoes. I've actually got a good friend of mine who's big into sneakerhead lifestyle and sort of showing me how there are shoes out there that are like collabs with these big, big brands. These shoes are going for like 20K and whatnot. just think it's insane that there's major market, and like how it almost felt like you were investing in these shoes much the way you invest in stocks.
So the thing is, so that is true. If you're going to buy sneakers to make money, you can do that. But sneakerheads hate the rich shoe lifestyle now. So, like, I have a couple of really sneakerhead friends, and they will literally walk through, like, op shops and stuff to find, like, hidden gems. And, like, when I was in Berlin with Frosk, she kept taking me through, like, the Puma outlets and, like, the Nike outlets. And there are shops where there are just, like, shoes with tags, and you'll just find, like, secondhand used shoes that people, like, refurb pretty much. And then they'll, like, bring them back to, like, the OG classic, like, kind of status. So I think there's kind of two types of sneakerheads. The ones that want the unworn ones that, like, they want the fresh kicks and they want them on their feet. And then there are the sneakerheads that, like, want to go out there and discover a cool pair of shoes that have been lying in someone's basement. And they gave them to an op shop for, like, $20. And they're really, like, $800 shoes that they, like, with a little bit of love and care and attention, some new laces will get them back to, like,
you got the hype beast as well, right? Everyone that's just like, oh, just get Yeezys and be done with it. And you're like, okay, move along.
So that's kind of what's happened in the OPL. Like, it's just like everyone has the one pair of sock shoes, and like they're just, if you got them, you got clout. If you don't, like, you don't have clout. I'm a little bit more like find the hidden gems in your shoes for sure.
Being completely ignorant of shoe culture, is it like collecting most things where expensive shoes, there were less made of them?
Yeah.
Or is it that they're just made by people who have clout?
It's like
a Louis Vuitton.
I mean, a bit of both, right? So, like, once again, it
both.
depends the kind of kind of sneakerhead you are. But, like, the way I would put it is, like, it's like collecting records for anyone that's ever done that. It's like you want the OG first drop of the record before the record was cool. Because a lot of these shoes now got remastered and done. But what you want is, like, drop one of the Jordans that you want, or, like, you know, the OG Beatles album where there's an imperfection on track 3, and that, like, if you have that album, that's, like, insane. Like, that's kind of what you want in sneakers too.
Yeah, right. Okay. I do like sneakers. I should really buy more. I just have one pair of white Converse sneakers that I just wear until they fall off my
You should have
feet.
more than one pair, though, Nick, as a general rule, right? Because, like, you
I
don't want to wear the
I have,
same thing every day.
Well, but I rarely wear. I'm a boot man, so I have tons of boots. So I wear lots of different kinds of boots. But I mean, I do have a pair of Kyries, and I have like 4 or 5. But these were all things like that were from like NBA 2K press trip things.
Yeah.
Like, they're not things where I'm like, oh, so yeah, I'm a boot head, says Swifty.
And
Exactly.
what's your favorite pair of boots? Because Rusty and I don't know if we bought them together, but when we went to Europe, we both had Timberlands, and I love my Timberland boot. It is the best boot.
Timberlands are good. My go-to at the moment, they're Palladiums, NIB Palladiums. So they're like a fold down. I've got a pair that are sort of old green look, sort of like rugged leather sort of look. But I just bought a couple of weeks ago a black pair that are made 100% recycled plastic that they turned into like a fabric, and they're waterproof. They're dope, and they've got like a little gold thing.
Yeah, I dig
they're
those.
really
like
cool.
volleys but boots.
Yeah, and they're super comfy. You wear them in really well. So yeah, Palladiums would be what I.
And we would take a sponsorship from Palladium. So if there is someone watching, reach out and we'll get something done.
100%. I mean, this has been by far the most informative Nick Bag question we've ever had. And to continue the trend, Bega Kletzstein, I never get your name right, caught an audible and just put this one in chat before. When does it stop being hair and become fur? I would say if there's no gap between here and here when it's hair, then you've now got fur.
I think it's a texture thing for me.
Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, so you're saying like, okay, you're actually taking it because they said no context, and I was
it's not
thinking
quality,
just
not quantity.
amount.
It's consistency, like the feeling.
So, like, if
Yeah,
if you
right.
can feel individual strands, it is hair. If it
So
feels
that's
like a mess,
that's density.
It's a clump.
Because
Okay.
I have a pretty dense beard, right? But I can feel each individual strand because I have quite wiry hair. And that's what I attribute hair to. Like, you can feel the individual things. Whereas with fur, it's just like a mess of like everything is everything.
They further complicate this in the chat by saying dogs have fur, but you clean dog hair off the couch.
Is hair?
Yeah, no, but
like,
when you pet a dog, I don't feel each wiry bit. And if I did feel each wiry bit of a dog, I'd probably say he has nice hair.
is human hair just like genetic adaptations from fur? Like, are we originally fur?
Probably.
So.
Well, we were originally monkeys. I mean, well, actually,
So
My
then,
word.
in fact, I'm
what
not
if
gonna
there's
open
no
that up.
line? Like, what if there just isn't a line? We just have fur on our head.
Okay, here's my question. Can fur only be attached to the body of a living thing? Once it's not on there anymore, is it now hair? Because they make a good point that once fur comes off, like if I picked up a monkey hair, I would be like, that's a monkey hair. But I might say monkey fur if I was like patting them on the monkey.
Maybe it's a closer you are to
You have to
humanoid
grab some,
form.
right? You have to have a clump of it in your hand, not an individual strand, no?
This question's disturbing.
The rabbit hole gets deeper.
There is hair, then undercoat. Hair doesn't have undercoat, says Donkey in chat. That's true. Maybe to be fur, it has to have an undercoat.
That's not true because babies have a undercoat, as you would know, Nick. And I've never said, wow, that's some nice
Hair
baby
has
fur on your head,
layers.
Jasper.
Oh my god, that's a good point as well. I don't know what to do. They want us to go to the next game, but I feel like we haven't answered this question properly. All right, well, chat, let me know. Just send me a DM or something and let me know when does it stop being hair and become fur, because that's going to probably keep me awake all night now. The final game of the day, it is set up to be the banger of the day. Let's see if it lives up to expectations. It's Order versus Chiefs. Quickly around the horn. Who's going to win? Spawn.
I don't know. Order, I hope.
Skimmy.
Chiefs for an upset.
Rusty.
They make me want to shave my head because now I feel like I have fur on my head, Nick.
And I agree. I think Order are going to win too, Rusty. All right, it's time to jump into game number 4 of the OPL with the Macca's Chaps. Like, I was so thrown by the hair comment. It's the Macca's Chaps. Like, game 4. Go, 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 go.
I kind of grew up watching Faker play, and that's also the reason why I started mid lane. He was a lot of my inspiration and motivation to become a pro.
Everything I've done my entire life has been competitive in some way. The OPL trophy is the dream, literally what I've been living for the last 3 years, and that's what I'm competing for. But it is paying off right now. To see some wins, it definitely there have been some real happy moments the last 2 weeks, so it is paying off.
I've sort of done this before in my career where I have had a lot of regular season undefeated results and lose the grand final. So for me and for I think everyone on this team, we are very happy that we're 7-0 in the last round robin, but we're not going to be getting complacent. We're just going to keep on working as hard as we can, and just know that the final is the last piece in the puzzle, and we just need to stay focused until then.
I definitely think it's unfortunate that I had to drop a game to DOS. It would have been great for my first year as a starter to go undefeated against DOS. But now I'm more than ever motivated to take down the big Titan.
I actually think Order is pretty overhyped. I don't actually think that, they've been performing well, but I actually don't think that their level as a team has improved too much. I find it a bit weird, that they're having so much success. Obviously, I'm happy for them and it's good. And they are playing well, but I don't know, just from how I feel personally, I actually don't think they're that good. Do we win versus them last time?
I think Order have been definitely on a tear right now. They've been looking really good. They've gone undefeated in the second round robin. And so I think DOS is extremely confident in his own play. Therefore, I think he's actually going to play a carry into me. And so I'm actually extremely excited to see a carry versus carry matchup between me and DOS.
And here we go for the final time this weekend in week number 9 on patch 10.15. We're going to go with Order taking on the Chiefs. A battle for the second spot with both teams, Rusty, tied up 1-1 with the head-to-head.
Yeah, that's the one, right? Legacy with their victory have locked themselves in first place, and while Order have secured their spot in the playoffs, their seeding is not determined yet. Chiefs are the ones nipping at their heels here, Skimmy, so very much an exciting game in general. And if everything that the Chiefs and Order rosters have said about each other is true, this is going to be a good game.
Certainly could be. Should be one that's got plenty of spice already brewing and ready to unleash. As we're going to see Order open up this draft here with the Volley Bear. We saw last time they went head-to-head, it was actually only who played the Volley Bear. Finished that game 5-0 and 15. Really brought some pain and punishment to Croc, who went the Nidalee that time around. What's the response here from the Chiefs so far? They've insta-locked in that center, a pick that they, of most teams, are still very hot on. The question now becomes, do they want to take the set as not only one for Dragku, but a denial away from Ayla?
Yeah, set going to be locked in here. Definitely something that Dragku can pick. Would not be shocked to see that one. Of course, set kind of flexible everywhere, but it is the least likely thing to be seen in many other lanes other than the support role. Of course, unless you're Pabu, and then it'll be played every game in jungle. Waiting to see what their opponents are going to pick here is basically the name of the game here for Chiefs, and that's why set is such a valuable pick. In saying that, Volley Bear had a similar type of flexibility available. Order of throwing that out the window and said, that doesn't matter. We're going to pick the Croc. And this is a carry. And Tien now gets to play his carry, whatever he wants, into the Renekton. As long as it's not a Wukong, I think we'll find ourselves with an interesting matchup. Personally, I'd love to see an Akali. Just lock it in and just go to town.
Oh, I mean, you think about the last few games he's played, right? Akali, Jace, and then Silas. It's all been about having some carry potential there in the top lane. Kind of what we saw at the end of Split 1 coming into playoffs, them just having so much damage and annoyance. And I think what we're seeing already is just 3 picks that worked for Order in week 6 that are just bringing back again.
Yeah, I mean, when it works and you're in a big game, why would you not continue to bring that one back? Another actual, I want to say another denial potentially as a pick here on the Chiefs side of the coin with this Azir lock-in. That's the Hayri special regarding mid lane champions. Not to say that Claire can't play the Azir, of course, but he's got the Syndra banned away. He's got the Orianna banned away from him. Zoe also removed off the cards. So I think this is a good pick from the Chiefs. Now that they've gone for their mid laner third and Order haven't locked one of those in, mid lane bans could be free if they would like it to ensure the best matchup possible for this Azir. But with the mid laners already gone, Skimmy, I think he's actually just pretty comfy.
I'm sure he is. I mean, you can see from the draft, they've actually denied away Claire's most played this split with the Syndra and the Orianna. And there is a bit of a crossover between both of these when it comes to the champion pool, as you highlighted. Only a single Azir game has been played, and it was by Claire between both of these mid laners in the last 8 games. Harry been a lot more focused on the likes of LeBlanc and Zoe. But at least one of those have been banned away with the Zoe here denied.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he plays into this Azir as well, especially given his recent champion pool. You're expecting a LeBlanc, and that's why the Chiefs would choose to ban that one away, particularly, you know, with a Bard type of composition. LeBlanc does couple in fantastically. The ability to then generate those picks is through the roof, but that's not going to be seen. And in saying that, a lot of jungle bans here from Order's side of the coin. Chiefs still being able to pick their jungler fourth here if they would like, are running out of some limited options.
They don't want to go into that Nidalee, don't want to fall victim to the annoyance and the tempo pressure that it can provide, but also removing the Jax, the wild card that we saw yesterday when they drafted it into Avant, and got to see that he can play a carry from the jungle, but then can veer into a little bit of tankiness if need be. And speaking of tanks, Sejuani is just that. Sejuani will be locked in now here for Croc.
Yeah, I think this is actually a good pick because Trundle not available, you know, first and foremost, has been banned away. The jungler revealed here by Order super early in their draft as to what they're going to be playing. Sejuani to enable the team. Now, it's a ranged mid laner, and it's presumably a melee support for Chiefs. You want a melee top laner now. That's the name of the game for Tien. He's into a Renekton, though. So in terms of melee champions, your options do get a little bit more limited. Looking at that matchup,
you were keen for an Akali. They had the Wukong into this matchup last time, but it didn't obviously pay off in the grand scheme of things. They're going to save that pick till last. But it's time to reveal here for Order. What will they play in the mid lane with all these champions denied between both Hayri and Claire? What is his response to bring it to the Sizir. Will we see scaling or will we deny? They actually steal away the Akali.
Yeah, what do they play now? Few of the Chiefs. This was a hover from them before. Camille's fantastic with Sejuani. But as far as I know, this is a pretty neutral top lane matchup. Renekton just has a bit more wave control early and just holds laning phase down pretty nicely. Whereas this Camille pick would all be about the scaling. If that's the choice that they go for here, it seems like Order got a hard read on the draft themselves. With a very early Renekton pick, they got a comfortable draft overall.
They certainly did. Fun fact for you guys back at home, Harry's only played the Akali once this split. He was the first person to bust it out in week 2, and it was actually into the Chiefs themselves. He played into clear Syndra. He wasn't lucky on that day. He fell victim to the pain and punishment that the Unleashed Power could deliver. Slightly different circumstances here today. Bit of comfort, a bit of familiarity from week 6 when they last met. Found here by Order. But is the Camille the pick that you would have liked to have seen to go into this Renekton?
Yeah, so now they've basically picked themselves with a stronger early game through the top lane Camille just because of the Sejuani. Bot lane gank's obviously going to be the #1 place of priority here for Chiefs. If they're able to get them off the center, of course, going to be very successful in snowballing them. And they've got a really good team fighting as the game goes on with the Azir, grouping up through that mid lane. For the side of Order, one thing they don't have a whole lot of here is engage. You could look at a Volibear, and maybe you've got your Bard ultimates as things that could engage, but it's not the same as pressing a Nautilus ultimate or an Ornn ultimate or something that is like high range, guaranteed engage. A small piece of mobility can, best them when it comes to their attempts. So I think that it's going to be much more of the objective game. You're going to be seeing a lot more of the emphasis from Order's side of the coin here on vision control and really trying to establish themselves with their best foot forwards before those objectives are either being hit or being the focus of their opposing side. Best foot forwards here for Order is setting up earlier, making picks around it, and snowballing the game out.
And no doubt for the points that you raise and mention that, Order very, very strong also in those 1v1s or 2v2s when they come together for those small little fights. The amount of damage that they actually have at their disposal. So forget 5v5 for a second. They could look to try and snowball and find themselves an advantage to try and patch the differences that needs to be found to get that vision control online. Well, here we go. Is the final game of the weekend, week number 9. Order sitting in second, but the Chiefs are hot on their heels. Only one win behind them. Say a bang away to round out the week.
Yeah, most definitely is. Of course, you've got the Armored Titan versus the Armored Sloth, self-named. I'm going to have to continue to say that every time because it feels weird calling someone an Armored Sloth. As your matchup in the top lane. Tian's already mentioned this as well. I think it's worth just pointing out one more time. Swipe has been confident lately. They are on a tear running through the OPL. That confidence puts him on a carry. Well, it put him on a second pick Renekton. To say the least, there was a counter pick available for Tan if he ever wanted to choose that one. Does go for the split pusher, so very different style of game may be seen here from both respective top laner. But the way that we know these two, there's been a lot of solo kills, just 1v1 up in that laning phase.
Let's see what actually happens here. If there will be any crazy level 1 shenanigans to start things off, we've seen only in recent times do some creative little pathing to ensure that he can look to lock down, especially tank junglers. Not going to be the case here today. To make sure that everything is a little bit standard, ensure that they get the clean, clear start with both starting bottom side with the assistance of their bot lane.
Yeah, starting on the same side of the map here, both junglers. Croc going to go for his single camp clear. Of course, running the Talisman would be much more comfortable hitting multiple camp minions at once, monsters at once rather. But he's going to be fine at taking this one out early at level 2. And now you'd expect to see his camp clear speed up a little bit more. Volibear on the other side does want to prioritize those single spawn camps. So you can see that he goes for the red straight to the blue, then probably the Gromp. Make sure he gets up to level 3 and will start looking for ganks himself. Pretty good options to go for top lane if you were only here, even though the Sejuani is on the top side of the map, because you'll do this faster. You'll clear a little bit quicker, and you'll be able to go straight for it on tempo.
Certainly will be. And as we set the scene for what this game really represents, quick summoner check. Will once again be another AD carry rocking the exhaust. That is a Katsuri here on the center with the Glacial Augment as well. Looks to be the one farming at this stage also. That does mean the Order have an extra teleport available to them with 3 to their name.
Yeah, it definitely could be a factor. I mean, Hayri is one of those players, especially on the Akali here, that will disappear to side lanes. The teleport from Azir is going to be super important, actually, for making sure he can get into the fight and be relevant. I think without an Azir, it's very difficult for the side of Chiefs to be able to win their 5v5s that they might be looking for. Worth pointing out as well here, Skimmy, that Tan did use an early ward to protect himself in that tri-bush to prevent any kind of dives or threat. Only actually has a sweeper though and cleared that one, so Tan running blind.
Here comes Ayla. Bot lane has been frozen, so he's looking to try and make something happen. And they're just going to find themselves some very nice harass, which will force Claire to burn through some of those potions.
Only going to be spotted there as well. He's just going to cross his way through mid lane. Perhaps looking for that double scuttle start here. Definitely no contest from the side of Chiefs as they're looking at Swiper.
They are looking at Swiper now. He doesn't have a slice and dice. He cannot disengage away. He's forced to actually take this flash. He will force that one out as a result. And luckily for him, Claire was pressed against the tower. Wasn't able to assist.
It is still 22 CS to 9 CS in that top lane, however, so if there was time spent by Tian outside of that lane, he's not only missing experience, he was missing the opportunity for farm and gold. And that does actually mean that that is going to be a Camille behind. So it's still okay for Swiper ultimately, but that's of course the silver lining on the fact that they got his flash out. And it's very dangerous to be a Renekton in top lane against the Camille at 6, the Sejuani ganking, if you have no flash.
Certainly one to keep your eyes on, as we know how aggressive a Renekton can be, and needs the early game to go his way to remain relevant and reliable. As Croc continues to be omnipresent on this map right now, forcing pressure from top side now, sneaking his head into bottom.
They know where he is though. Water with a lot of pings, and also once again Ayla being very active around Summoner's Rift. It is the heal bard though, not ignite, so his kill threat's quite low when he is going on those roams. If he's able to chunk out Claire, majority of the work would be done by Hayri.
Preemptive flash there from TM, but that's the smite on top of his head. A stun, and Thunder. That's the passive shield. Will buy him a little bit of extra time, but won't change the outcome. 5 minutes on the dot, or to find first blood.
It's just good timing once again. Only is always top lane whenever the minions are pushing towards Swiper. Whenever he's in a position where Tian feels threatened, Only is always there. And that does actually start to play on your mind more and more as it continues to happen. And at this point, teleports in, has no flash available. Swiper has a solid TP advantage here and should just be able to walk his way back to top lane. Things going fantastically on the top side of the map for Order.
Certainly something to praise and highlight at this stage of the game, because it's a significant lead that's been found here. As old faces collide once again for the do or die moment. They've said across really this year as to who's keeping count and who's really found themselves the advantage. Well, both teams being tied at 1-on-1. This is the decider. Drake, who gets a little bit aggressive there in the bot lane, but will be punished with a stun and a bit of harass in response. Grit will come out just a little bit too late.
I know it's too early to say this, but you've just kind of touched on that fact. Whoever wins this game is the most likely second seed, right, at the end of this season before playoffs. Just because of that head-to-head advantage, you know. If Chiefs win this one, they have head-to-head. They've caught up to Order, as we've got some junglers having a bit.
We certainly do, and whilst it was only being in the driving seat there, forcing the gank, he's the one that actually bit off more than he could chew as his health bar was being crippled, but that's a beautiful magical journey away before Ayla fell victim. But a stunning passive that a Sejuani can deliver.
Yeah, still a flash used there by Croc, just decides to go through the journey by accident, surely. If Order get this scuttle. Oh, that's so funny.
Well, that's
there's no way he intended that. He was 100% clicking the scuttle crab and just took a quick trip. And Dragu secures the scuttle crab with a face breaker. That's so tragic.
Well, he'll be glad that Dragu was there ready and waiting to ensure that they didn't lose all the tempo and leave that play and passage red-faced.
Blood Magical Journey is a fickle beast. I think that much should go without saying for those of you that have endured. Wow, that word is impossible
Endured.
for my brain.
I know, mate. It's been a long day for you.
Endured Bard.
We know what you mean. We know what you mean. And, you know, as a Bard player yourself, you'd know better than most. As we'll see What Rare can do for the meantime is he's quite content just farming underneath this turret, and why not? He's just sitting on a coal at this stage, so we're down to 50, putting some impressive work, and despite them actually losing the Scuttle, they will be the ones that go for the very first dragon here, Rusty.
Yeah, Drake secured no contest from the side of Chiefs. They're actually on the opposite side of the map, so Croc probably going to go for Raptors to red buff, and I do think their priority is now going to shift towards the Rift Herald. In saying that, Chiefs have actually gone fresh off a reset and brought Katsuri and Dragku back down to bottom lane. So that does make me wonder if they will put any priority towards the Rift Herald super quickly, because Order should be due for a reset right now. Rare has a 70 CS to his name and only the cull in terms of things bought, so at the very least we'll have his tier. And they should be able to flip themselves up to the top side of the map realistically right now if they wanted to, if that was a priority. In saying that, it's also a teleport Ezreal to the exhaust of Katsuri, so if he goes bottom, he's actually going to teleport bottom anyway. So we're not going to put any priority towards his Herald at all.
No, they're not too concerned about finding any advantage or really acquiring as many turret plates as possible. Going to use their teleport advantage by having 3-2 by just going back to bottom lane and matching the build that Katsuri has. As both will now be sitting on a tier and a pickaxe for some very even trades. But only we'll take that opportunity to say, well, if the lane's going to get locked in place, I'm going to go for the second objective myself.
It's not like they have like pure just lane priority in all three lanes. You know, top lane definitely in a commanding position as push goes. The clock armor to the Tiamat in terms of wave difference is obviously a factor. But the Azir's kind of been holding his own fine in terms of wave clear. A lot of this has felt like just Bard constantly roaming, giving mid priority. Tien does have Croc.
Things go top. Teleport comes in as soon as only spots, so he just barrel rolls away. He's very happy with that one. Forces out the teleport there from Claire. Did actually have some vision with the tri-brush protected there by Order, but another wall just over that, which ensured that when Croc was coming back from base, he was ready and waiting. So a small micro advantage achieved, or you'd say matched.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually huge from Order in general here, because you know, there's no contest really happening from the Chiefs at all. They've conceded the Drake. They've gone for a red buff, a top gank, and a recall during the Herald being taken off the reset there as well. They just may not have their finger on the pulse. Ooh.
Oh, we might see some fights take place in those solo lanes. Oh no, Harry's gone for it. He's been outplayed. Claire read him like a book and took him down in the heartbeat in mid lane.
And that was a sick ultimate from Croc as well. Sejuani, I think he may have thrown that during the R2 of the Akali, which locks him down. So not only was the flash good from Claire, but he was purchased time to put more damage down onto that Akali. You said read like a book, you're absolutely right, Skibby. They just cleaned house with that Akali.
Well, Chiefs have been inspired now, as they do in typical fashion. The 10-minute mark comes around, and now every lane wants to get rowdy. Bottom lane. It's Dragku that starts things off, but a Tempered Fate will cancel out at least half of that interaction. And the Herald will be summoned top, which means more teleports are coming on out, and a fight will take place. The swipe of Hops Dominus flashes on out. He will live at 100 HP to his name. But Croc will not, with no ultimate, no chance to stun, no chance to disengage.
Yeah, Chiefs being super aggressive, trying to get a pick perhaps before that Herald was able to get a charge off. But the teleport advantage here from Order just proves to be far too powerful, so perhaps not the correct timing there for the Chiefs as dives on.
They want more. They're going to go and turn their attention onto Tien right now. The aggro of the turret juggles back and forth, back and forth. Dawning Shadow too little too late, but it doesn't matter because for some reason there, Harry took one too many turret shots and Katsuri picks himself up some gold.
Yeah, while it wasn't there to save his top laner, it was there to apply damage to that Akali, so ultimately does give them the trade that they were after. And you'd be very happy with that one if you were Katsuri, just sitting in bot lane. Now you've equalized farm against Rare 7. You've also got yourself the kill on top of it, so a little bit of extra gold going your way. Unfortunately, Tien, 0-2, down 20 CS, and a kill to his respective opponent here in Swiper. Definitely struggling is the Camille in this one. And when Camille's behind, there's only one way out of the game for her, and that is to split push until the end of the game, or to try and get back in from your teammates' support.
And that's when I think the question becomes a little bit more prevalent as to, you know, you're going into a team with more teleports than you. We know that Tien is so excellent at playing that side lane pressure. How will Chiefs look to facilitate that and ensure that the Camille can become relevant? Well, first and foremost, They want to be aggressive with the second dragon of the game spawning. It will be a mountain dragon. And it is Croc acting like a mountain, just tanking on the world as Draku joins into the fray. But Dominus means that Swipe can just 1v2 as he finds one. Rare finds the second. And Akali is just going to dash on into your backline. Execute as clean as they come. They fall on down. And the triple kill is achieved. So Order can now find themselves another dragon.
Yeah, Order really turning up the pace here, keeping Chiefs down. They were already starting to fall behind, but that tempo has really picked up right now. They're going to go for the second Drake of the game here, 13 minutes in. Once again, no contest available, but this time for a good reason. They were completely unable to get to this one. Renekton gets into the mix. Ayla hits a fantastic ultimate. And Order seem like they're hot to trot in this one still.
Certainly do, despite the pressure that Chiefs are throwing their way. As it stands in these first 15 minutes, it's always Order having a response, an answer to it, and that could be directly in a team fight itself, or just continuing to find advantages in these side lanes. You see Harry on your screen right now, look to target another turret, and ensure that in his next 15 seconds, a little bit more gold goes his way.
Yeah, extra cheeky turret plate there just before it expires. That means that as turret plates fall 14 minutes in, Order find themselves 5,000 gold ahead. They've got the Ezreal for the really cheap item spike timings here on their AD carry as well. That Manamune should stack a little bit faster than that of the center. They've got their big item spikes for the Akali. And we highlighted the one thing that Order didn't really have a whole lot of in their composition, and that's engage. You know, good flanks are going to be the crux of their composition success. And so far we've already seen that working, and that was without the advantages they now have.
And you mentioned vision control is going to be vital, and I was wondering if it would be a case of seeing some strong early states, some strong ganks, and that's obviously what has been the case, because 15 minutes in to have a 5k lead like this is so huge. And you touched on it also quite nicely with the Ezreal. Typically speaking, you're going to see that come around the 18 to 20 minute mark with the tempo they're finding between their, Renekton that wants to fight. Surely they put themselves in such a good position to get not only an early soul, just more gold and team fight success.
Yeah, 100%. And that really does start to threaten, Baron when it spawns. Of course, that's going to be a while away, so let's just keep that one in the back pocket. But Herald 2 is going to be up a little bit faster. And the Drake's soul as it starts to come about. If Order have their item spikes faster than Chiefs, and it's very difficult for the Chiefs to navigate their way towards neutral areas on the map as ball,
Player's going to turn up that heat right now, and with the assistance of both Tien and Croc, they're going to target this oppressive Crocodile. It will fall on down, and it is Claire's Azir that picks up the shutdown. Now there's a teleport. He has to match that up top lane. Order are willing to sacrifice Swiper if it means more objectives.
Yeah, it does look like eventually the turret bot lane will drop. You can see that Claire's already finished his Nashes too, so he's definitely dealing a lot of auto-attack-based damage to structures. There is still going to be the obvious trade here that will happen as Order 2 days in a row are going to be giving over the Rift Herald to specifically their AD carry here in Rare 7. It seems like Only has a higher priority towards using his sweeper. But that objective, anyway, the Herald can still net them a turret and net them the trade. But as it stands, Chiefs will be pretty happy with the outcome of this one. They get the kill, they get the turret, they defend top lane, albeit barely as well, and they get to bounce back a little bit.
They get to bounce back a little bit, and they'll be bouncing, or hoping that bounce ensures that they have a bit more time to play around with to ensure that these key targets can remain relevant and not fall victim to the snowball that is definitely fast approaching them. But the Order have served their way.
Oh.
Here comes Swiper. Speaking of bouncing.
You didn't see me. Swiper, of course, not keen to take the one-on-one. And you look at items and say Swiper could definitely win this one. That may be true. But you don't know where the rest of the team is if you're a Swiper. You're waiting for them to show themselves. But respects, backs away. It is now going to start to push forwards in his own right as he has a Volley Bear and a Bard hovering nearby.
90 seconds here, Rusty, until that third dragon. And we're playing for an Ocean Soul of them all. So if you're talking about early game tempo going their way, if you're talking about a lack of engage, well, they can look to sustain all the damage you throw their way with an Ocean Soul like this. It'd be a solid option for them to consider and no doubt want to acquire. They will have themselves 2 teleports as well if they want to try and control the vision. As you can see right now, that is them being very aggressive going into the enemy jungle. Might be now looking for that kill. Note there's the Glacial Prison, because he was getting very close to lethal range, was Croc, dropped down to 50%. But with the aid of a Senate, will gradually be topped back up.
A super aggressive force, realistically, there by Order. You know, Ayla uses the heal just to try and keep his way in and have some control, but now that he has it, will be huge as Dragu is about to find them right in his face.
Certainly is. Going to slam dunk them in. Only leads the line. He has been exhausted. Flashes out of the Dawning Shadow. Will survive for the meantime. Now Claire has been tempered fate. So there's no chance to use the Emperor's Divide right now. And it means with the assistance of a Herald, the mid-tier 1 will finally fall on down.
Yeah, nice zoning actually by Order. The Bard ultimate keeping the Azir down, definitely important. The flash away by Only during the center ult as well to make sure no damage could be applied to him as timing goes. Unfortunately for the side of Order, that mid lane outer turret, while they break it, does cost a lot of their health, to the point where contesting this Drake does actually become quite difficult. You can see 2 people in base right now as well. Ayla going to have to run as fast as he can. Akali's going to teleport though. It's clear they want this.
They certainly do, and instantly Tien says, "Nut, you're not allowed to TP in there." Goes for the Hextech ultimatum, but the Shroud is fantastic and just denies the cooldowns being utilised in the follow-up. Dragon is down to 50%. Order do not want to give this up. They want that 23 minutes. They want that early soul. They want that fight to go their way. They've locked Chiefs up on the ramp right now. Not giving up easily here, Rusty.
Harry.
And he's going to dash on in. He's finding that R1. He's going to find that R2. Emperor's Divide creates a protection barrier, but it's not enough because they lose 2 in the casualty mix. That's going to be Camille and Set falling on down, and what looked like Chiefs finding such a big advantage in terms of tempo, HP, and all the rest. Order just stall out too long.
Yeah, in this game of poking and back and forth, neither team really has a whole lot of sustain. But the Ezreal does have significant range and had a really nice flank, to be honest with you, to be able to keep them down. This happens with Tan not having his ultimate. Really struggles to teamfight then as a 0-3 Camille without that ultimate to lock somebody down. And Hayri definitely having an outstanding performance here. Working towards his death's dance is going to be pretty much unkillable.
Certainly will be. You see the fact of how aggressive he's been, jumping into the fray of things with 3 members around him. He's not afraid of anything. He's a man playing with confidence, a man possessed, knowing what is at stakes here today between both 2nd and 3rd on the ladder. It's a big game with big implications, no doubt.
And the thing is, I think that Chiefs have respected Order almost too much. The way that fight really panned out, Chiefs had control. They knew they had the health advantage. They knew that Order were going from base. Maybe not all of them, but some of them. And that should have been enough for 5 people strong of the Chiefs to just walk in, just chad their way to the Drake pit and just take it down. They got so distracted by the teleport of Hayri that they forgot to take the objective. And then Order just played the game. And I really do wonder, watching the way the Chiefs played that one out, this game might have got to their head a little bit.
Certainly could have, because as you say, the Dragon was held in suspense for about 50% for such a long time, and much like a kid to candy, the distraction of a teleport coming into Tribrush was enough for them to turn their attention elsewhere. Now, here they go, Tempered Fate, locks in place Rare, that Stormbringer on top of their heads. They will not take down the Ezreal today. Everybody locked in place, but finally one falls on down. Both the carries of both respective teams showing up to find a kill apiece. And that might be just enough as they'll force that disengage away.
Yeah, big ultimate there by Only, and at the same time, Ayla keeping him alive as Claire just gets taken down by a good blue trinket here from Rare 7. He comes back in with the teleport to make sure that kill was secured. And so the advantage now belongs to Order once again. They're going to work their way over towards the Baron pit here, Skibby. And this could actually be something that Chiefs are so afraid of that they will check. But the timing on that ward was fantastic to show that Order haven't done it. And they're going to take the gamble here and go for that reset anyway.
The cohesion you can see on full display here from Order. If anybody gets caught at a position, the instant response to everybody to just swarm around them, lock them in place and ensure that there are numbers in the way and that Ezreal will not fall on down. Impressive from them. Frustration no doubt there for Chiefs. They're unable to find that pick target, but they're locked in a situation where they're kind of standing there waiting for it to expire. And the other targets are not nearly as juicy or as easy to take on down. We talked about those big power spikes only moments prior. Well, they're in full force here. The Mirror Mana, the Trinity Force, the 2 item spikes coming in thick and fast for pretty much wherever it matters. The Death Dance, as you highlighted before, on the Akali. And with Swiper playing the role of, you want to say defender, the Black Cleaver is putting in some serious work.
Yeah, absolutely, especially for someone like the Ezreal to be able to continue to apply damage, even the Volibear, you know, being a very much auto-attack reliant champion. So that Black Cleaver works for more than just himself. And I really do wonder if we get back into this game, if you're the Chiefs. And there's a couple of things they do have going for them, right? So first of all, the Mirror Mana for Senna. Very good scaling. Damage in general is Senna, even with a lethality build. You wouldn't be too upset. Ooh.
Well, this time they find it. There's no Tempered Fate to protect you this time, say the Chiefs. And they converge on mid lane, and they will take down the elusive beast known as Ezreal. That's his first step of the game, and just like that, the Chiefs say, we've got to do something. 60 seconds in order to get themselves an Ocean Soul. Let's go for Baron.
Yeah, it's already getting chunked out, 8,000. They do so much damage to this objective. Ayla has his ultimate, though.
How can they prevent this one? Tempered Fate very early on. Draku jumps into the back line. It's not enough. Hextech Ultimatum doing what it can. The Baron getting lower and lower. 2 kills. Instantly picked up there for Harry, making a triple. The man is possessed. I'll say it again because look at it on full force here today. Order have got into their opponent's heads. They find themselves a flawless ace and say, no, 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 that Baron is ours.
Wow, that play from the Chiefs was desperate. They thought they had the advantage. Perhaps they could take it quickly, but the complete convergence from Order, the flank from multiple directions, a huge Bard ultimate, followed by the Volibear ultimate as well. And Renekton already into the fight with his ultimate on, was stacking up the rage. And then Hayri comes through to hit it home, follows up and gets the kills. But the assassination is easy when the setup is just so perfect by Order.
Order on an 8-win streak before they went into Legacy, and they are building up that win streak once again, sitting on a win from last night. And they're showcasing that that confidence is still in full display, as they now not only have the Baron, but they've got themselves an Ocean Soul as well here at the 25-minute mark. Rusty, they've got tons of damage.
Yeah, not only is it Ocean Soul, not only is it a Baron, their composition is pretty good at poking out their opponents when you compare how these comps work. Chiefs' options, when behind this much, are kind of just to engage. You know, you just kind of need to find your Camille flank, if possible. The Sejuani ultimate, we've seen that be more successful. But
Tempered Fate, out goes fishing, then lock in place center, but able to utilize that miss to disengage. Out comes the big laser cannon to pad up the stats and keep them topped up and healthy. Not enough though, because Crop falls on down. Now Harry jumps into the backline. 1v4, Emperor's divided into a turret, but he'll take you out nonetheless. As Rare finds one, he'll find himself a double, and he'll decimate you under the protection, the false pretense of what that turret offers them. And now, they're chilling in a jacuzzi, waiting for the minion wave to crash.
yeah, there's no save point on this map right now. Hayri with his death stance, starting to feel himself get very confident, and for good reason. You can see the fact that he's still alive. No real success with that engage from the Chiefs, and that may well just be their last chance in this one. Looks like Order want to push to finish.
They certainly do. Clears up in 10 seconds. Draku doing a desperate effort to try and prevent them. He tried to disengage them off that tower, but it's not enough. He falls down, so does Senna, and Croc just manages to make it to the fountain. But at 26 minutes, Order showcased that there is still so much separating these two teams, and they in convincing fashion dismantle the Chiefs.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, once they find their lead, Order never really look like losing that one. And there's a couple of things that I think we should highlight. One of them is that the Chiefs still, when behind, recognized the win condition of their composition, or the only way that they could get back into it, and they tried, right? They acknowledged when they were desperate, they made the plays, and while it did kind of speed the game up against them and they lost, you have to commend them for taking the shot. But now you look at the other side, right? You say sick engages, good teleports, good team fighting, well played in general there by Order.
Order had an idea with their composition there, Rusty, and they were basically able to find the components that ensured that if there wasn't that quote-unquote easy engage style, well, it didn't seem to matter because their carries were so far accelerated, and I'm sure for the likes of both Nick and Spawn especially, they'll be feeling pretty chuffed with that performance there.
It's all right. Like, a win's a win.
Oh, not again.
Good job from the boys to bring home another dub at this stage of the season. It's just we're on a climb, right? And I keep saying this, like, when you are trying to win the championship, and like Legacy was saying this a lot last season, it's not about the individual wins. It's about like the trajectory that your team's heading on. You know, are we able to play multiple styles? Do we look dangerous? Are we following, Coach Charlie's plans? What do the comms look like and stuff like that? So, like, yeah, it's great to beat a team in 25 minutes. It's even better when that team is the closest team to you on the ladder and you're able to send a message, because most likely we will play Chiefs in a best of 5 at some point in this offseason. But that's what you need to expect out of the guys if they're going to win.
My favorite part, the moment that I knew Order was going to win this game, was the trash talk video at the top from the Chiefs, where at one point in the video, Claire's like, I don't even think Order is that good. I don't know why people keep talking about Order. Did we win against them last game? And then it immediately cuts to the Chiefs being decimated by Order in their own fountain. And you just go, right, if you're in your trash talk video, your editor is doing better trash talk to you than you are to the team you're about to play, then we have big problems. And so that was an exciting thing for me to see, at least from a video production standpoint.
Also, like, I've been watching The Last Dance, so I've been referencing it heaps lately, but like Michael Jordan makes up things in his head to like why he wants to beat a team. And then, like, he has this story about how a guy said, like, great game, Mike, and he never actually even said that. And then he came out and dropped, like, 57 points on him and, like, just destroyed him. Like, Swiper is that guy, and Rusty will attest, like, having known Swiper for a very long time. He's, like, Mr. Anime, and, like, if you can, like, he creates reasons to beat people, but if you can give him a real-life reason, and you better believe I just sent that video straight to Swiper, like, he would have been fired up like you would not have believed after being told by his old teammate that he's not very, like, his team's not very good. Because DOS has nothing but respect for the Chiefs, and I think he's, like, showed that time and time again on social media. So he's just the wrong person to, like, trash talk. There are people in the league you should trash talk because it gets in their head and it makes them play worse, and Swiper is not one of those people. You should just shut up and just play the game versus him.
That's very funny. Well, let's take a look back at the results from today. There's been some predictable outcomes. There's been a surprise or two. The biggest surprise is that we don't get left side dominance. Legacy taking down Mammoth for game 1. Pentanet.gg taking out Direwolves for game 2. Then Avant felling Gravitas for game 3. And finally, Order up against the Chiefs and Dominant for game 4, which means that there are new standings. Let's take a look at where the teams are. Legacy still on top, 15 wins, 3 losses, and then Order in second place. PGG, third place. The Chiefs at 4th. Direwolves 5th, Avant nipping at the Wolves' heels at 6th, and then it is Mammoth and Gravitas rounding out the end of the table. So Direwolves still in with a chance, and the Chiefs, while probably not going to fall out, still not the direction you want to be heading on that standings ladder. Let's take a look at the games next week, where some of these teams can make that last-ditch effort to make it into the playoffs. It is a super week. There is a super amount of games. Game number 1, Chiefs versus Mammoth. It's then Direwolves and Gravitas for game 2. Order versus Mammoth for game 3. Pentanet.gg versus Gravitas for game 4. Order v Avant Gaming for game 5. And Legacy and PGG for game 6. So it definitely gets spicier the further into the schedule you get. So thank you very much, everyone, for... I didn't know...
Like, he wanted to throw, and then was like, no, carry on, Nick. Carry on.
Keep going, buddy. You're doing good. Truck through, Nick. Bring us home,
Keep
baby.
talking, bro.
Well, what it was, I was like, what games do we want to pick? And I was like, well, I don't want to just ignore the first 4 games and, like, shout it out. But since you forced me into it, Skimmy...
It was just such a wholesome pause. I was like, and there we go. Okay, so... go on, mate.
Well, if you want more wholesome pauses, we're going to be around for the MPL in a second after this. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining me today, particularly Rusty, who scuttled over here after his very important exam.
I'm tuckered out, man.
You're so wasted.
Oh, I'm not wasted.
You were
much. Just tired.
You also said the rusty slogan when you turned up in the chat when you arrived. The first words I heard out of your mouth is "I'm so hungry."
Oh,
and it's
I
just
am?
like that is the conversation during these nights of trying to figure out when the casters can eat.
And the answer is right now.
Right now, and it begins.
The answer is, yeah, like for oftentimes just how timings work out, the answer is literally the 2.5 minute break we have between this and the NPL. Spawn's just going to get an early start. I assume that's some sort of like beef on ramen situation, the iconic Australian meal with half a kilo of beans. It's time to move on. Let's end the show. It's a massive thank you to NeoSurf, McDonald's, and EPOS, our wonderful sponsors, for making all this happen. We are excited about heading into Super Week. We are excited about heading into the OPL. We are excited about the grand final coming up in a couple of weeks, and you should be too. A reminder of the two competitions we got running, NeoSurf and EPOS. Both want to give you stuff. We've been talking about it throughout the show. Just head to watch.lollysports.com and the OPL socials for more info on that. Spawn, how's dinner? Solid. He's got a mouthful of spaghetti. A massive thank you to all of you for watching. A big thanks to the production crew as well. And stick around because the NPL will be with you in just one moment. Until then, we're out.
Mwah.
Today is the NeoSurf Cup, and we're going to be playing against Misfits, so hopefully we can bring home the win.
NeoSurf is simple, safe and secure. You can go to your local shop and get a voucher code and use it online, preferably to buy League of Legends skins.
He's got it! This is deadly! He's got it!
If you're craving the taste of your favourites, head to Macca's for a fast, safe and contactless drive-through experience. For your Macca's run, contact-free, we'll be here.
Target inside. Taste my bag!
Who stole my Penta?
Oh, baby, that's what I needed.
9 hours in this building with these morons.
Good work!
Let's go, boys!